units, stand by for a priority message. Be advised, the following transmission from behind the call is for informational and entertainment purposes only. The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed in this broadcast belong solely to the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the official policy, position, or endorsement of any agency, employer, or affiliated organization. Listeners are advised that this content does not constitute legal, medical, or professional advice. The creators of this podcast assume no liability for any actions taken or outcomes resulting from the information provided herein. Any reliance you place on such material is strictly at your own risk. This transmission is not a substitute for official training or departmental SOPs. Maintain situational awareness and consult with your specific jurisdiction for official guidance. All units resume normal patrol. Use discretion. Behind the call is now in progress.
Thank you for everything you do.
Welcome to Behind the Call podcast. You're here with Jeremy Busby, Stephen Ellis, and our special guest tonight, Randy from the Tennessee Public Safety Network. How you doing, Randy?
Doing well, thank you very much.
What's up?
What's that?
I love it. Randy's our man. He's mine and Jeremy's coordinator through the Tennessee Public Safety Network. He kind of, I guess, what would you say, Randy? Keeps us in line, keeps our debriefings going. And
It's like herding cats.
it is like herding cats. I promise you that. When you talk about us two right here, and Randy being the same one of the bunch.
Yeah, that's a stretch.
Yeah, you know. I love it though, man. We are so pleased to have you on here. We talked about having a lot of the coordinators on, and you're ours, so we're starting off with you.
Hey,
Pleasure.
I've been called up on other locations.
Yeah. Oh, I love it.
Randy, I don't know if I can thank you enough, though, for the contributions that the Tennessee Public Safety Network's made in my life, and I know Stephen's the same way. I really appreciate the passion that you have and the call that you've answered and the difference that you're making in everybody's life. I appreciate that, Randy.
Man, I thank you very much, but it's the same for me. I got involved in this back in 1998 strictly by accident. I was in narcotics at the time, and my lieutenant came in and said, "Hey, you want to go to a class in Nashville for 3 days?" And I was like, "Hey, I'm there. Here I come, Broadway, 2nd Avenue. I'm there." And that's how I got involved in this and met that crazy Yankee, Peter Cove. And I was like, "You got to be kidding me." When he started, they did a little checklist. Of course, y'all know now about it.
Oh, yeah.
I was going down through there. "You've never done this. I'm checking everything off, not thinking twice about it. And then he started asking people, and they said, "Well, I've got 2 or 3, I've got 5 or 6. And he's going, my Lord, bless you." And I'm like, "Uh-oh, something's coming." I think there were 20 questions on there, and he got to me. He said, "How many you got?" And I said, 17. "What?" I said,
What's
"Yeah,
wrong with you?
I kind of been involved in a few things, so it
Definitely have.
helped me understand why I thought some of the things I thought, or why some of the things either did or didn't affect me like it did other people." And that's the main thing about what we try to do is explain to people that everybody's different. Everything affects people differently. The issue we had during my days first coming up was you were told you didn't talk about stuff that bothered you. You kept that down. That's why alcoholism, divorce rate, and even suicide rate so much higher among emergency services, because they've all been told you don't talk about it. So you just eat it, and it eats you up from the inside.
Daily.
Yeah.
I don't think I could have put it any better. And that's the way it was put to us at school. that's the first time I met you was, when I went in, which I went in and we've talked about this a million times, Randy. I went in thinking I'm going to help all these other people and stuff. And that's a lie
Yeah.
because you end up helping yourself more than you do anybody else. But here we are, and we're helping people one debriefing at a time, one peer support at a time, and you're kind of our go-to guy. I mean, that's much respect, much love for you, buddy, and again, that's why we've got you here to be able to talk to some people. So if you're ready, what we're going to do, we're going to jump into it. We're going to ask some questions, and we want you to be bluntly honest. And
I've been known for being that way, so.
yeah, we know that.
Yeah.
But all of our listeners, they might not know Randy the way we are. So put it out there, man. So
I'll try to be kinder, gentler.
That's what I'm talking about. So, Jeremy, you want to start off, or you want me to, buddy?
Yeah, I'll go ahead. So Randy, can you tell us a little bit about your background and what drew you into the line of work?
To be honest with you, I was pretty much a teenage turd. Did a little bit of everything, some things I shouldn't have been doing. I actually married the chief of detective's daughter, my second wife, and went to work at the police department as a civilian, trying to go in the fire department. And the deputy chief of the police department, his son and I had grown up playing ball together. He didn't think I wanted to be a fireman, so he moved my application, put it at the bottom of the stack, and I'd also applied to the police department. Well, he came out there and told me, he said, "You're not going to be in this fire academy that I thought I was going to be in." And he said, I moved your application. You don't want to be no fireman. He said, "But you'll be in the next police academy." So that's how I got started in the police department. And luckily, I was about to quit about the first month in the FTO phase. I had an FTO that he was a nice guy. I don't want anybody to think wrong of him, but he was more interested in writing a ticket than he was doing anything else. And then my second phase was a SWAT operator, and we went from Brainerd and to downtown in the projects. And I was like, yeah, this is more like it. That's how I got involved in it. Of course, I got divorced from her before I went to the academy, and I almost didn't get my job because of that. But it was a eye-opening experience.
So you should have been a fireman.
Well, if I wanted to be liked very well, I should have been a fireman.
That's right. That's right. Drive the old BRT, big red truck.
Yep. And everybody played. I didn't know it at the time, but everybody at the fire department played golf back then. And of course, I didn't get into golf till I got narcotics. But if you got into golf at the fire department, you made chief pretty quick.
That was the way to get in there. I got to start golfing a little bit.
Yeah. Jeremy, your picture went out.
It's an expensive habit.
It is. I was talking to a guy a while ago. When I texted him, he said, "Yeah, call me when you get through. I'm just leaving the driving range." He's just getting into it. And he said, "Well, it's not that expensive." And I thought, "You ain't got into it yet."
Yeah. That bucket of balls is a lot cheaper than Green's fees and Clark's fees.
And the clubs.
Yeah, and the clubs. That's right.
But that's how I got started. That's how I got started. And then, of course, I was fireball and working in the inner city in the projects, and then got on the SWAT team, and eventually got into narcotics about 6 years in. I got transferred to narcotics, and I stayed there for almost 18 years. Then they said they were going to move me, and I was promoted under an inspector rank, so I was going to stay in the detective division. I didn't want to work burglary, and I didn't want to work homicide, so my chief told me might as well take the test. So I took the test, made lieutenant. As they say, that's the rest of the story. And the last few years I was more of an administration than I was anything else. I still like to slip out there and go out on calls with the guys.
Didn't forget where you come from.
Yeah, that's the one thing I always had against people that made rank and got up there is they forgot where they came from, forgot how to act. And
That's a true leader when you don't forget where you come from and you remember you guys and where you did come from.
well,
So
I tried. I had some good supervisors coming up, and I tried to take the good and leave the bad. Yeah, I loved it. I loved going out there and answering calls with them. If it's a wreck, I'd get out and direct traffic, and they go, "Hey, we'll take." I said, "Look, man, you do your job. I still know how to do this."
you brought up a good thing right there when you said you had a bunch of good supervisors and stuff. Who are some of the people that shaped you as a first responder?
Well, my ex father in law got me interested in police work. He was a chief of detectives at the time, and he was a good man. I knew him, grew up, around him in the neighborhood. Him and my dad were friends. Him and my brother were friends. Of course, he didn't like me much when I started dating his daughter, but we got
Most
over
dads
that.
don't.
Yeah, we got over that and got to be good friends. Even after the divorce, I think him and they liked me better than they did her after that point. But
That's
it,
what it usually goes.
yeah. I had I had Frank Otis, Kim Lone, Larry Finney. All of those have passed on now as captains and lieutenants. John Taylor had a big influence on me. All of those guys, and then Glenn Lemley was my lieutenant in patrol for a little while, and then my lieutenant in narcotics. He and I are still probably best friends. We play golf together, travel together, talk about every day. He retired after almost 36 years. I retired after 30. So, but he was I had good people around me. I've seen some really bad supervisors that would I didn't want to even have to socialize with, but I had a lot of good people around me. A lot of good people I worked with. A lot of good people in my academy, and some turds. I ain't gonna lie. Y'all both know you get good and bad and all of it, but the
Yeah,
majority of the people
a
I'm
lot of
sorry, go
times
ahead.
you find somebody that uh, maybe doesn't influence you on how you want to be, but hey, I know I don't want to be like that.
Yeah, I had several of those, and I mean, and like I said, I had some good people. One of my best friends from the academy, and he was involved in this program with me for a long time, and unfortunately, he had a stroke a few years back, and he's still with us, but just physically and psychologically hampered. It didn't hurt him that bad physically, but it affected his mental capacity. He and I talk quite often. I'll call him, or most of the time I have to call his wife and get her to put him on the phone when he wakes up. He's kind of got his days and nights mixed up, but and then it was funny. There were 32 in my academy class. We just had a reunion uh, the 2nd of March, and until this year, we probably had 25 or better show up every year at our reunion, and we
That's
lost.
awesome.
That is
Yeah, we
cool.
lost three. We lost three this past year, and then some just didn't make it for whatever reason. Some got health issues now, but we all worked together and got along pretty well together and took care of each other.
Well, you did stuff together that you probably don't want to talk about. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's a lot of people talk about a brotherhood, and I believe that to an extent. You got some people that don't fall into the brotherhood category, but sounds like the 25 that showed up, y'all had a pretty damn good brotherhood through the years. So
We
that's
did. I mean, some went on to different jobs, quit, big family, open up a business, but we all still got together, that one time a year if we didn't see each other before. But a lot of us, we'd go eat lunch together, see each other, talk to each other. It's like family. You got good and bad in your family,
oh
and
yeah, definitely.
but it for the most part, looking back, I mean, I still talk to several of the guys I work with. We talk, get together every once in a while. I play golf with a bunch of retired firemen, policemen that I've known, and I guess that's one of the biggest things I've seen over the years is where my relationship with fire and EMS was totally different than the way it is with law enforcement now. They don't socialize like we did. I mean, I'd leave line up on second shift and drive straight to the fire hall and say how much I owe you for dinner.
Yeah.
That's
Because they
right.
were always cooking, and I didn't care what they were cooking. It's where else could you get a T-bone steak and a salad and baked potato for $5?
That's right. And cook good.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
You didn't have to worry about somebody spitting in it either.
Yeah, we had that problem with a couple of our narcotics Christmas dinners, and saw some people peeping out of the kitchen window at us and realized we'd put all of them in jail.
Yeah. I drove away from a Wendy's one time because the whole kitchen come up to the drive-through window and was snickering and looking at me. And I said, "Not today, Satan."
Yeah, I'll
drove
pass.
off. You know.
That's
All
it.
right, Randy, I'm gonna get serious with you for a minute.
All right,
You ready,
go ahead.
buddy? Without going into specifics, what can you tell me about a moment or a call that stayed with you?
There's a couple that really stick with me more than anything else. The shooting at the Marriott, where by all reasonable logic, me and Gary should have died. And then the body farm, the smell, I still, I don't know what it is. I mean, I know what triggered it, but uh, Red Cross back in their kitchen in there, right by that place, and cooking hamburgers, and I didn't see the kitchen. I just smelled the hamburgers, and I thought, God, man, dead bodies smell like hamburgers. And then turned around and saw that, and I mean, it was a long time before I could even think about stomaching eating a hamburger, smelling when cooking. But the one at the Marriott was, I've talked about that a lot, and the guy just made a fatal error. He had 3 guns in his room, and he picked up the wrong one and didn't realize he left the safety on. So when he pointed it at us and started pulling the trigger, it didn't go off, but ours did. So I'm telling the story, and he ain't talking about it.
Right.
Other than that, I mean, losing some of my friends, either by suicide or killed in the line of duty. Yeah, those anniversaries sting a little bit when they happen.
So as you're going through these, Randy, how did you cope with those at the time?
Well, I mean, the first one I guess I experienced head on was when Richard Alexander got killed. I knew him, and we weren't real good friends. I knew him. I'd worked around him, and he was on his way to pick up the checks for his shift from the service center, and kid on his way to school had been cramming all night for a exam, fell asleep, hit him almost head on, but primarily right in the A pillar of the driver's door, and killed Richard instantly. Killed the kid. That's another story that I'll relate to you here in a minute. But the getting there and seeing him still in the car and them having to cut him out, all of that, you never forget that. And knowing it could happen any time. But then the ones that have committed suicide, one of them, Alan, and I worked with for a long time, actually got him into rehab counseling, and he came out, and of course it was ruled an accidental overdose, but he was dead a week after he came out of rehab. And then probably the worst was when Tim got killed. Julie was bad. Seeing Julie laying in the street. She was a rookie of the year before, and it's one of those things where you go back that woulda, shoulda, coulda thing. She answered a call out of her district, so she was nowhere near where she was supposed to be when a guy took off running and escaped from the hospital, and she responded and confronted him right there on the street by the hospital, and they fought. He got her gun and shot her 5 times right there in the middle of the street. And the sad part was she would have survived the first 4, but she was still trying to fight and was getting up on her hands and knees, and he shot her behind the ear. And then Tim, who worked for me, he was one of my sergeants and one of my good friends. We played golf together, played ball together, traveled some. I get a call 10:15 one Saturday morning, April 2nd. We've had an officer involved shooting, and we've got an officer down, and I take off that way, and I'm trying to get, nobody's wanting to give me details over the radio, and finally one of the other sergeants who was on scene, I said, how bad is it? He said, it's really bad. And I said, is he gone? And they said, yes. And I got there and pretty much stood with his body till they got through with what all they needed to do and put him in the back of an ambulance to transport him. That was still hard.
I can tell.
We had just, he had just been in my office talking about retiring. He had 27 years in. He was going to retire because he wanted to spend more time with his family. And then we played golf together the day before in a tournament, a memorial tournament for police officers. And he said, I don't really want to work tomorrow. And I said, well, take off. I don't care. But we had a chief at the time that always wanted one sergeant on the shift, no matter what. And I said, well, I got a sergeant on the other team. They can cover for you. Take off. And he wouldn't do it. He didn't want to leave his people by their side out there without him. And that was it. If he'd have just went ahead and took off. But had he took off, God only knows what would have happened. You know, I had another officer got shot. Luckily, his vest stopped it, but Tim actually ran over the guy as he was running with his car and saw him lose the gun, but didn't know he had a second gun. And he's running, and he wasn't going to outrun Tim. Tim could fly. But he started shooting over his shoulder, and one caught Tim right between the eyes on the bullet that hit him.
Wow.
And that was, and then of course you have the crazy stuff that happens. That's why I hate Facebook. One of my officers' wives got on Facebook and started posting about it before I ever got somebody to his wife to take care of, protect her. And then somebody from the media got his phone number, called his house, and wanted his wife to, if she had a statement about her husband being killed. I thought, God, if I could get my hands on you.
Yeah.
But that's probably the most hardest thing I've ever gone through in my job.
So how did your experiences, how did they affect life outside of your job? As far as your relationships, your routines, your mindset, like as your experience in these, how did that begin to change you as a person?
I guess, they opened my eyes to the fact that, we can be gone at any minute in this job. And to do the best you can do the right thing. You know that old saying, integrity's doing the right thing when nobody's watching. And,
Right.
you just try to be the best you can. I try to take care of the people that work for me, worked under me. And like I said, I didn't just sit behind a desk. I hated that as a as a lieutenant, a captain, or a chief. I got out. I mean, my wife thought I was crazy. I'd go work third shift sometimes with them for a few hours, evening shift, just ride around. Of course, everybody thinks you're out there trying to check up on somebody doing something wrong. And I'm like, dude, man, you know, I still wear the same badge you do. I just want to get out here and let you know I'm out here to support you, whatever you need. And spend a little more time with them. You never know when it's the last time you're going to talk to one of them.
Yeah, and it's very easy, I think, Randy, that you lose connection with your people and what they're experiencing, what they're going through in life, what they're dealing with in life.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing about it. It's good to just talk, not about work, talk about them, talk about their family.
Yeah.
I mean, and like I said, I had good supervisors coming up. I worked back then, it was called Adam Sector. We had Adam and Baker. And I had good lieutenants, good supervisors. We actually had a cookout once a year. And one of the lieutenants he had this big smoker. And uh, I know one year I spent all day down there with him on the river. We were cooking, barbecuing, and drinking a beer or two back then. And our whole shift, everybody that was off duty showed up down there at the river. And everybody that was on duty either came by and got a plate or we took them a plate. I mean, we took care of everybody, our whole shift. And, that was 16, 18 districts. And you got 2 to 3 people for every district cover your off days. So we had a big crew, and we were all there for each other. And even the ones you didn't like, you liked the badge. You were going to take care of the badge. And I
Yeah, I remember back
didn't
in the
want
day,
these
even if
young.
I didn't like you, I was gonna make sure you went home. Somebody
Yeah,
does.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
that right foot was going to be on that skinny pedal.
Yeah,
If they needed help, it didn't matter if you liked them or not. That's just the way it went.
yeah. The that's 2 of the wrecks I had were trying to get to somebody calling for help. And yeah, that little pedal gets you there in a hurry.
Oh yeah,
But that was the thing. I wanted the younger guys. I always thought, because of the way I came up and the people I worked for, I wanted to teach them what I knew, how not to mess yourself up, I guess, to try to be the best you could be. Uh, and that, sometimes it's okay to be an asshole to people. Sometimes you gotta get there to get their attention so that they understand where you're coming from. And I know, the public don't like that, especially if they, don't know what's going on.
yeah, not these
But
days. Yeah,
but I'm sorry. That's I only talk to people the way they make me have to talk to them. If that makes sense.
Oh yeah.
I'd be just as nice to people. I'd say this to a lot of people. I pull somebody over, and if the first words out of their mouth is, "Why are you pulling me over? Why ain't you out stopping the criminals?" I go, "Well, as far as I'm concerned, you are a criminal. That's why I stopped you."
that's right.
And if you go up and say, "Hey, do you know why I pulled you over?" "Well, yeah, I was going a little too fast." I usually just go, "Look, this is a speed limit. Slow down." And then you get those that are entitled that think, "Well, I am this and I do that, and you don't need to be bothering me." And I go, "Yeah, I'm glad you're late going where you're going. It's going to take me about 40 minutes to write this ticket."
Yeah, you don't know who my daddy is.
Yeah. Oh, I love that one.
Yeah. Do you know who I am? Nope.
Yeah. Do you know who I think I am?
I love it.
And that's when I say, no, and don't give a shit who you are or who your daddy thinks he is. Your daddy, I know who he is. He's going to be the one coming getting you out of jail.
That's right. That's right. Uh, when did you realize you needed support after all of that, the traumatic stuff you went through, Randy? When did that light bulb click?
Honestly, when I went to the first CISD training, um, I I guess learning that it was okay to talk to other people about it. I mean, because I couldn't come home and I wasn't gonna scare my wife to death telling her some of the stuff I'd done and been involved in. She knew, I called her when I was involved in the shooting and told her, hey, look, and asked her to call my mom and dad. They were both still living at the time, and because I knew my dad listened to a scanner, and I figured he'd probably heard it. And I said, just let them know I'm okay. Everything's fine. I'm just gonna be late getting home, and things like that. And then, of course, how do you tell your son who's in junior high school that you've had to take somebody's life and it's going to be all over the paper and the news and they'll probably talk about it at school. He blew me away. He said, Dad, as long as you're okay, I'm good.
Yeah, that'll get you right there. That's
yeah, but
and they're not going to paint you in a good light usually on the news.
No, but that kind of stuff. Stevens heard me say it. I was at the point where I was kind of getting concerned with the fact that stuff I was involved in and that I was doing on my job, I didn't have a bad reaction to it. I didn't have a lot of issues with it. I was beginning to wonder if, what's wrong with me? Why doesn't this bother me? And, it just, and then I found out, there's a whole lot of other police officers out there that are the same way. That they've been involved in this stuff and it doesn't bother them. But then there's other parts of the job, just like losing Tim, losing Julie and Richard, and that kind of stuff. It makes you think of your own mortality. But with both, Julie, I was at the DEA task force when she got killed, and we had actually tried to get her moved over there to replace a female that was leaving because she was new and a good officer, good fire. She was all around good officer. And the chief wouldn't go for it. Said, no, she ain't been here long enough. I said, well, that's the whole purpose. We want somebody over here that everybody doesn't know.
You ain't got to break bad habits either.
Yeah, and if they'd have transferred her to the DEA task force, she'd have never been anywhere around that. And then, of course, we're up in our very first conference, Tennessee Public Safety Network conference, and find out the guy that killed her was released, flattened his time, and was out. Didn't tell nobody. They didn't notify anybody that he was getting out. And so that kind of wrecked the scab off the wound. And I think that's what happens a lot of times. We get those little cuts and they scab over. And it's just if something happens that you rake the scab off again.
Well, I'm gonna ask you a question. When you found out he got released, what was your mindset?
Oh, I wished I could find him. I wish, and I was already retired, but you think all this stuff, and I think, well, and I know it's not good to wish people ill will toward people, but
We do it though.
yeah, I was kind of hoping he'd have a run in with the police and they'd do to him what he did to her.
The reality is, and I know we probably shouldn't, but just being transparent, you really do have the feeling or the thoughts of, hey, my buddy over here who's an upstanding, great person trying to help other people has got his life taken from him. He's no longer here. He's done.
Yep.
Yet, this person that was trying to do ill will and trying to do harm and hurt other people and do things he shouldn't be, he's back living his life.
Yeah, and when it happened, when the guy that shot and killed Julie, he was we come to find out he was a gangbanger out of California that his mama sent him out here to live with his grandmama because he was always in trouble. And he was supposedly going to pharmacy school at Chattanooga State, smoked some bad weed or something and had a test and freaked out when he got to school, and they sent him to the hospital. And the officer transported him to the hospital to be evaluated. Sister, aunt, uh, preacher, they're all in the room in there talking to him. Oh, he's such a fine, upstanding young boy. And he flips out, takes off running. And in all honesty, we didn't have we didn't have charges on him. It was just a wellness call for us. But you got to go try to catch him. He jumped about a 12-foot fence and ran into Julie, and hey, she fought to the last breath. And then he goes and gets 25 years because he's a fine, upstanding member of society. He's trying to be a pharmacist, and he for some reason he had a bad episode. And I've said this, and my wife tells me I shouldn't say it, but there's people in this world that don't need to breathe air. And God forgive me for saying it, but I'd put a bullet behind their ear and not think twice.
It's really hard, and Jeremy hit on it, but we've all had those cases, and we've had those cases where somebody's just been just doped out of their mind and kill a family of four, and they go to prison for 13 years or whatever vehicular homicide carries, and
Yep.
dead. And then next thing you know, here they are walking down the street, and you're like, why in the hell do you get to walk down the street and do the things that everybody dreams of doing and just being here, and my family or my fellow officer are
Gone
because of you?
Yeah.
That those whys will eat us up. And we all deal with them, Randy.
Yep.
And you say that, and we talk about that in critical incident stress management school. And that helps us. I mean, we'll cope with it, but it don't change it a lot, but it helps a little bit. And you always say this, and I like it when you do say this, and some people don't take it well, but some people do. And life, each day it gets a little better.
Yeah.
It's never going to go away. We know that, Randy. We're going to deal with that death for the rest of our life, but it gets a little bit better each day.
Absolutely.
He talks about that. You wake up one morning, that's all you think about. The next morning, it might take you till 10 o'clock in the morning to think of it, and then the next day, and then 2 weeks down the road, you wake up and you say, "Oh, I didn't think about Billy Bob today."
Yep.
So.
I say that, and I've said for years, I've got a list of things I want to ask when I get up there. Why this happened? Why did this have to happen this way? But by the same token, hopefully, I'll either know the answer or won't care at that point. But you wonder, how can this happen? And for me, it's most of the time it's kids. I understand accidents, but neglect, abuse, exposure to narcotics at a young, talking about babies, 3, 4, 5, 6-year-olds. That's just, and luckily I can get angry about it and be sane enough not to actually commit a homicide, but
everybody gets pissed off a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, it's
I like
just
going to the
it's
street
hard
and
to
throwing
take.
down rocks in the damn water and just get a little mad every now and then and be like, "Well, shit, that felt pretty damn good."
Yeah. It's like I say, there's things out here. I mean, I ain't gonna lie. I stood there on the side of the road, cried like a baby, looking at Julie laying there in the street, and God and Tim, and I couldn't have done anything work related that day. All I did was stand out there with the 2 of my patrol officers, and we'd talk about him, cry about him, talk about him. like my buddy Alan always said, yeah, I'm crying. If you don't like it, I'll whip your ass.
That's right. That's right.
And,
You
I tell people, I don't know that I've ever not felt a little better, felt a little relief after having a good cry.
right. I still use it today. A good cry. Good God, it's great.
Like a
I
pop-off
tell
valve on
people,
a pressure cooker.
yeah, first time I went to therapy, and my therapist looked at me and he said, "It's okay, let it out." That's the first time anybody ever told me that I could let it out, and I sat there and sobbed like a baby. And I'm like you. Somebody wants to make fun of me, I'll whoop your ass. You know what?
Yeah.
Hell, I can't say that. I'd like to whoop
Yeah.
your ass. You know what I'm saying? But you
Yeah.
bring up some good points, and I want to ask this because we all of us got family, Randy. What's something you could tell some of the people that are friends with first responders, not necessarily first responders or family of first responders? What's something they can do to help their first responder friends or family to deal with a bad call? What would be something that you could tell them?
Be supportive of the person. Don't start digging, wanting details. You know, it's okay to just say, "Hey, you okay? If I can do anything, let me know." People have humanity itself has a morbid curiosity a lot of times. They want to ask about the details. They want to know, the gory stuff. Uh, that for the people that actually do it and go through it and see it every day, they don't really enjoy talking about it in that kind of detail to people that don't understand it. And and I've been blessed, to be honest. I mean, I know I've put my wife through a lot of stuff, uh, and but she's never really been too much on pressing me for details when I'd come in. She could tell when I wasn't in a good mood, and most of the time she'd just leave me alone. And I'd eventually say something, but there's stuff I'd never even attempt to tell her, and and I knew she worried about me. I didn't know how much till I decided to give up SWAT, and she informed me that now she wouldn't have to worry about staying up all night. Said anytime I'd get called out on a SWAT call, she'd stay up till I'd pull back in the driveway, jump to bed, and act like she was asleep. And I said, why? Because she didn't want me to worry about her. Uh, and
And we were always worried. Me and Buzz were the same way. When we go out with a drug unit and kick some doors and stuff, you tell your wife, "Oh, I'm going out with a drug," and we're fixing to kick, and we didn't know what that was doing to them.
yeah,
They were staying up all night worrying and like, what in the crap? What are they getting into? And we wasn't giving no details but we were just giddy and ready to them go do it. Uh, what's a way that you could probably tell your family uh, of a bad call and really not just throw it out there?
I may just say something about what it was, but not go into any kind of details and just try to pass it off like it didn't bother me, hoping it didn't upset them. Luckily, uh, my son was young when I started into this, and yeah, he I took him with us on a search warrant. He stayed in the van. He didn't get out of the van. I think that pretty much.
That wouldn't happen today, man.
No, it wouldn't happen today. Pretty much made his career choice right then that he didn't want to be no cop.
Good learning lesson, yeah.
Yeah, it. But yeah, I think we stress this in the class to talk to your family. Don't uh, don't shut them. You ain't got to give them the X-rated version of stuff. I mean, there's things that I wouldn't go over, but a lot of details with. Good Lord, UPS delivering this late. But they,
You probably got your hand on a pistol down there. They just can't see it.
I'm looking out the window, but I'd have to get up and move about 5 feet.
About 5 feet. But you
Yeah.
can get there though, couldn't you?
It's between me and the door.
That's some of that hot B.
One of them's between me and the door.
Yeah, I got you.
Hey, what's one thing that you would want anybody listening, if you have one thing to really take away, what's one thing you want somebody to know? That's either a first responder, or a family of a first responder, or
If you don't have someone you feel comfortable talking to, call us. Everything we do when we have a debriefing is confidential. It's privileged communication. You talk about anything as long as you don't say you're going to kill yourself, kill somebody else, or harm a child. Everything's confidential. We're not going to put your business out in the street. I've been doing this since 1998, and I've never heard or known of a team member breaking confidentiality. And you're talking to someone that knows and understands what you're talking about. Family, if you know, talk to your family. You ain't got to give them the gory details, but let them know. Uh, and everybody processes things differently. It's the same thing that affects one is not going to affect the other. And and y'all know in emergency services, you look around and go, why is this bothering him so much? It's not bothering me. And then you go on almost a similar call, and it's bothering you, and it's not bothering them. We don't know when something is going to affect us in a way that we don't expect.
You're exactly right.
I mean, I've gone. Well, I'll give you for instance. Alan told me this. He and I both been in a number of shootings in our career, and he said, I never had a problem till the fifth shooting he was involved in, and it bothered him. And we got to the point of it. It bothered him because once he realized what had happened after the shooting was over with, he realized that the guy had pulled the trigger, pointing the gun straight at him, but his first round hit the cylinder of the gun and locked his gun up so it wouldn't fire. Had that not have happened, he'd have got shot in the face. And that makes you just, and the same for me. That deal in the Marriott
wasn't his time at all, was it?
That deal in the Marriott, I mean, I watched that guy stick that gun in my face and pull the trigger. I watched his knuckle turn white, and I thought, my brain is saying that is the quietest gun I've ever seen because I didn't hear it.
Good Lord.
And I mean, he pulled the trigger a couple of times on me. I started moving and shooting. He starts tracking other people pulling the trigger, and I'm watching him. And he's pulling the trigger, and the gun's not going off. And I'm thinking, and by the same token, we fired 47 rounds in the hallway of a hotel. There were 5 of us that shot that day. And I never heard the first round go off. Never heard the first bang. And I thought I was crazy.
I've heard people say they heard the first one but didn't hear anything else. So you didn't even hear the first shot.
I never heard the first shot was mine. And I never heard the first 4 rounds. And I never heard the rest of them. And all I heard was I was thinking, who's ringing a bell? Because I was hearing ding, 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 ding. After it's all over with and we start, thinking about it, it was all the shell casings hitting each other.
Right.
Oh, but and the mental health professional explained it to me and said, had I heard 47 rounds go off, and here's the kicker, 43 of those rounds went off right over my left shoulder. Had I heard all of those gunshots go off, I would have probably collapsed into a pile and not been able to do anything, or I would have done something and walked into a bullet because I couldn't. I went as far to the right as I could, which I thought was further than it actually was, but it was the width of the door frame, and I hit a wall, and I went to one knee and watched the guy track other people trying to pull the trigger and watch rounds impacting him, and turned around and got powder in my eye from the muzzle flashes, and never heard the guns go off.
Let me ask you another question. I've always heard this. What was it in slow motion?
Oh yeah, I mean I was like, holy shit, and then to the point of I finally, when the guy fell over, I yelled cease fire, and I looked at everybody and I went, I don't remember exactly what I said, but something to the effect of this is effed up because it was like it took forever, and it we went to the range and reenacted it before we went to our federal lawsuit a year later, and it took less than 2 seconds to fire that many rounds because 5 people were shooting. We had a couple all the narcotics unit carried 45s. We had a couple of patrolmen with us that were carrying 9s, and 2 of them emptied 15-round magazines. I mean, and I hate to say this, but I've seen it happen too many times under high stress situations. A lot of people don't know where they're pointing their gun, and
Spraying and praying.
it's about I after the fact. I don't know why I didn't get shot by my own people because I was in the doorway.
Oh,
I mean, and I couldn't go anywhere.
Oh, fatal funnel.
Yeah, I couldn't go anywhere. I went to my right, hit the wall, and I just had to stay right there. I got damn near invisible. But
you can get shooting. You can get skinny real quick, can't you?
Well, I was back then.
What shit? I got you.
Yeah, I was smooth about 180.
Oh Lord.
God, I look for those days again. But that I was like, I'd say that people go, "You're full of shit." You had to hear it, and I'm like, I swear to God, I never heard the first gunshot. And then talking to the psychologist, they were like, "That's normal. It's called auditory distortion." Same way with visual distortion. You get tunnel vision and see only what you need to see, or it slows down and you're looking at it in a slow motion frame, when in fact it's going. Your brain's running 1,000 miles a minute, so it can process everything, and it seems like it's in slow motion because you are able to process everything and see and react and do what you're supposed to do. And
Right.
being able to find out that kind of stuff after getting involved in this program made sense to me of why I thought or felt certain ways about certain things.
Did you feel like you got maybe a little obsessed with trying to figure out that stuff, Randy?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you get angry about it because why did I do this? Why do I feel this way when other people are saying this? And I'm like, okay. And then once you understand it a little bit, and I had nothing. I'll be honest with you. I thought mental health professionals were snake charmers. I had no use for them whatsoever. And
I think we've all felt that way before.
yeah, and even to the point.
No offense, Ken.
Yeah,
Yeah.
even to the point. I think the second class I attended, they had several mental health professionals coming in up there to speak, and they started telling us that oh, if you're in body, you're going to feel this, you're going to experience that, and I'm just I'm not one to hold back, and I just kind of in the back of the class went, "You're full of shit," and they're like, "What?" And I said, "You don't have a clue what you're talking about." I said, "You don't know how I'm going to feel. You don't know how I'm going to react. You've never done what I've done. And you can't tell me that that's the way it's going to be." I said, "Because some of the stuff you're saying, I've never experienced." And I said, you don't know what you're talking about. To the point Peter asked me to be quiet. But
Randy
then,
wasn't outspoken, was he?
yeah. Then when I got to know the mental health professionals that actually got on board with us and learned about us and understood the culture of law enforcement, the culture of emergency services, and one of the ones that I've got up here in this area, Linda Graham, she is phenomenal. Of course, Sharon, Amanda, Ken Stewart, all these people have been with us for a long time. And I mean, even Linda's married to a cop. He's a retired cop, and she understands more than most. But after they explain stuff, and the ones that'll tell you, you know, I haven't done what you do,
Right.
but my training tells me this, and if this is happening, this is why, and they explain stuff to you. It's it makes a difference. I mean, to the point of we got invited to go up to Lee University and speak to one of my mental health professionals classes right before they graduate, psychologists, and we do little mock uh, sessions, and it never failed. The first couple of classes, they would always, and it's a standard thing. They want it's I understand. You'd say something, they go, I understand. And I'd just go nuts. I'd start
Yeah.
screaming and hollering about you. Ain't no way you can understand. And
I
then after
click when
about
I hear it. Shit.
after about 2 classes, they would never say that. They were already prepped. Don't say you understand. And once you tell them, it's like, now explain to me how you understand. I talk about kids and
You may be able to relate, but
yeah,
you don't
you,
understand how
yeah,
one person.
But you even hit on something earlier, Andy, that you and I may process the same situation differently.
absolutely.
So even if me and you experience the same situation, we both still can't say, "Hey, I understand," because we're
Uh,
different.
you
You know,
say
you
you
talk
can
about
tell
struggle.
me, yeah, you can tell me how this affected you. I can tell you how it affected me.
Sure.
It may be different, and it may help us each understand how we're feeling. But I mean, you just that's the thing about it, though. You're talking to people that do the same kind of job you do, that experience the same kind of experiences. How it affects them may be different, but the experience is a lot alike. And that's why we do the debriefings the way we do it. We want everybody that was involved in the call on the call, not that show up later, not that come to just look. We want the people that were actually involved when the traumatic event occurred.
The blood,
Because
sweat, and tears of the
if there's
call.
5 emergency services in there at the same time, there's 5 different versions of what happened.
Yeah.
And we're putting that puzzle together, which will, something that's bothering me, you may tell me something you saw or you did that will make sense to me about what I'm feeling and help me understand it. Okay, okay, I didn't see that. I didn't know that. That makes sense now.
Or Randy, us three. I mean, we can talk about it. We can't talk about the debriefing or anything, but the debriefing we did a while back, it was amazing that we had one person come in there, didn't want to come in there, and after it was over with, it's like, I'm so glad that I came here because I got so many questions answered. Didn't want to come to it at
No.
all, but I promise you, they'll be back.
Hey, we've had people. I mean, I hear stories all the time about what this program's done for people, has saved their life, and I've experienced some of those personally. We were talking earlier about Grumpy, and he got sent up there to the CISD school, and he was a crusty old fart, super nice guy, and I have his permission and his wife's permission to talk about this. But he didn't want to come. He was ordered to come. He came up there the first day. First day is a lot of explaining techniques, talking, carrying on. We don't really get into the bones of stuff. he got his car, started back home, and called his chief and said, "This is bullshit. I ain't into this huggy feely stuff. I ain't staying." He said, "You come home, I'll fire you." So he turned around, and came back. Well, it just so happened we were up there, me and Alan, a couple of others that work narcotics and SWAT, to do a debriefing for his narcotics unit, where a couple of his people had been shot. And he said in that debriefing, and he, like you said, he came in there not wanting to be there, arms crossed, huffing and puffing. By the time that debriefing was over with, he's sitting up on the edge of his chair and he's relating stuff. He's letting people know how he felt, how all of this made him feel, and even to the point of got to talking about stuff that happened in Vietnam. He had done 2 tours in Nam, and he and I became very good friends. I'd go out there. I've been out there and rode with him, went to lunch with him. 5-hour drive just to hang out and talk. And he he his whole demeanor changed. His whole life changed. His wife of 30 some odd years had made up her mind that if he came back the same asshole he was when he left, she was divorcing him. She came to our next
And
class.
she said that.
Huh?
And she said that.
And she
She's
said
fixing to leave you.
she came to our next class and asked to speak to us, and stood up there in front of a bunch of strangers that were there for the class, and all of us that were teaching and helping out, and said, "Thank y'all for giving me my husband back." And she's the one that told us. She said, if he had not come back a different person, I was going to divorce him. And his whole life changed, the way he treated people, the way he and her got along, everything. And then for some strange reason, within about five, and he's the reason the program in West Tennessee is as big as it is. He ended up getting diagnosed with cancer and dying about 5 or 6 years later, I believe. But super super guy. I mean, he was a cop's cop.
You talked a couple of times, Randy, about people telling you how you're supposed to feel, how you're supposed to, what you're supposed to say, what you're supposed to think, and so many times, especially in the world today, you have the court of public opinion, if you will, that's second guessing you and telling you what you should have done, how you should have done it, what you should have said, and just critiquing everything you do. What's something that you wish that you could tell the public, or you could get the public to even understand about what medical professionals, dispatchers, first responders, anybody involved in critical incidents, what they're really going through? How can they how can the public understand what you're doing?
I don't think they can. They can try. I mean, we had a lot of problems going on with perception and racial discourse and everything else for a while, and we started a citizens police academy. And the first class was all of the ones that were getting on the news reporters, attorneys, clergy, civic leaders that were in our first police academy class. And we put them through some of the training we go through: shoot, don't shoot scenarios, different things. And it opened a lot of their eyes.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, we had one that, is a don't shoot, don't shoot scenario, and he's popping rounds, and we're like, "Why did you shoot him?" Well, he turned around real quick. I thought he had a gun. He didn't have a gun. You shot an unarmed person.
Yeah.
Man, y'all have to do this every day. Every day.
Split second.
Yep. And then, but they see the news. They say you look at these videos they show. Take Minneapolis. The first week of videos was only from the left side of that car. And they were convinced that the guy on the left side of the car is the one that shot. And then all of a sudden, we have another angle. And it shows the officer standing in front of the car, backing up to the point of just as she impacts him with the car, he fires as he falls backwards. He had to go to the hospital with internal injuries, but you didn't hear all of that. All you saw was somebody shot this poor mother of two that should have been home with her kids. I mean, I don't care what her lifestyle is. That makes no difference to me. But why were you out there hindering people trying to do their job, creating a problem, and her uh, spouse, whatever you want to call her, is outside the car video hollering, "Drive, baby, drive." You know that people that don't make sense to me. I've been on the other side of that. I've actually had a car try to run me over. That's how I got the car to turn away, is by putting rounds through the windshield at the driver, and made the car turn. That's the only hope I had, was that he would turn, because he had me trapped between my car and his, and I backed up against my car as far as I could go. So I understood that. But people are getting on there making all these comments and saying, I can't believe they're doing it. I'm sorry. They're doing what they're tasked to do, whether you like it or not. The law is black and white. There's not a lot of gray area in the law. We're tasked with following the law, enforcing the law. And if you violate the law, we have a job to do. You may not like it. You might not like the outcome. But if you don't put yourself in those situations, we don't have to react to what you do.
Right.
I hate it that somebody lost their life. And don't get me wrong, I know there's instances out there when bad things happen, when cops do the wrong thing. We've had people wearing that badge that shouldn't have had that badge on.
Randy, I tell this story all the time, and maybe people can relate. And I use this scenario of, if you have a loved one go to the hospital and they lose their life, and you think that doctor could have saved them, who do you blame?
The doctor.
You blame that doctor. In the world today, if a police officer shoots somebody and they're in the wrong, who do people blame?
Yeah, they're gonna blame the police officer.
Every cop across the United States.
Yep.
I mean, it can be in LA and poor old Tennessee down here. You stop somebody and they start screaming, "You gonna kill me next? You gonna kill
Yep.
me?" And it's like, what are you even talking about? I ain't got a clue what you're talking about. But that's what emergency services go through a lot, and you work for the public, and that's, you didn't join this organization or your organization, or when Jeremy was in law, we didn't join this because we wanted to hurt people or anything else. The blanket answer for everybody is we want to help people.
Yep.
We really do.
Yep.
So that's, I get it. That's, you saying that. And you talked a while ago about our mental health professionals that we got. We got some of the best in the business that deal with emergency service people. And I'll say this out loud to the people that's listening. If you want to talk to a professional, which I should have done a long time ago, I'm on my 5th session now, and you named Amanda a while ago, I want to thank her publicly on here, for she looked at me, she said, "You need to go talk to Doug." And
Yep.
This guy's been 28 years in emergency services and liked mental health enough to get his license to study therapy and do therapy and stuff. That's all it takes sometimes, is sitting down and talking.
Yeah. Yeah. It's you're unpacking.
Yeah.
We pack a lot of stuff.
Yeah. It took me 20 years. I mean, I'm going to be personal right here, Randy. How long did it take you to go talk to a therapist?
In all honesty, until I started working with them, because I really had no use for them. You've heard me talk about chaplains. We had a great chaplain in Chattanooga. He and I were friends. We talk all the time. But as far as talking to a therapist, until I started doing this program and got to know a couple. You know, it's been. I mean, God love Linda. She checks on me all the time. Won't know if I'm okay, and uh, she knows when stuff bothers me, and we'll talk a little bit about it. But I've been lucky with the majority of all the mental health professionals that have worked with us and worked, in my region. But I'd say, what, you'll make me do math.
Take your shoes off, Randy.
Yeah.
Take your shoes off.
Probably about the same, close to 20 years before
Yeah.
I really let somebody in and talk to them, and that even includes family. I mean, there's stuff that I've, I've I've never told my wife that I did on the job. I kind of let a little stuff out now and then, talking about it. But uh, I mean, in all honesty, I felt like my stress level went up when I retired.
Yeah. On, I know we kind of getting a little late here, but I want to hear Randy's perspective on the Tennessee Public Safety Network and how we can help and how to reach out and what we can do for our first responders. If you'd lay it out for everybody, man, I'd really love to hear that, Randy.
We don't have to have a department call and ask us to do a debriefing. Anybody can contact us and ask for a debriefing. We don't. I mean, if you're off duty, you do what you want to do. We can meet somewhere and do a debriefing. Churches are really good to us. Um, it's it's having that outlet, somebody you can talk to. We're there. If you need to talk to somebody, if you've got a substance abuse problem, and you need somebody to talk to that's not gonna shame you, definitely not gonna throw you under the bus. We have programs that we affiliate with that only cater to military emergency services. No one else. We have mental health professionals that are vetted with us, and if they can't get you in, they will recommend somebody just as good as they are. This program has probably saved more emergency services personnel's lives than anything else I can think of. And I say that knowing what it's done for a lot of people.
Amen.
I mean, me included. I mean, I had a lot of unanswered questions when I got involved in this. And that's why I still do it, is because I want to give back to people what I got. I want to be able to help if I can. And there may be times that, I can't do nothing but sit outside the door and make sure you're not bothered. But uh, if I can help somebody, that's what I want. That's why I do what I do now. But I mean, when you have somebody come up to you and go, "Hey, I just want you to know that after listening to what you said and what you were talking about, that I was going to kill myself until you said what you said, and it made me think. And I just want you to know I'm not even thinking about killing myself anymore, and I want to thank you for that." And I'm like, damn.
Yeah.
Didn't even
I've
know.
had some too, Randy, and that floors you and it makes you feel like you're making a difference.
Yeah.
It really does.
Something that a lot of times on the job you don't think you're making a difference. In this, the Tennessee Public Safety Network is making a difference. I mean, it really is. And to show you how much of a difference the Tennessee Public Safety Network's making, there's a whole lot of people out there trying to copy what we do, but they're going about it the wrong way. People that want to help us, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, we're a 501c3, and we operate off of a grant and donations, and we desperately need donations. I mean, when we first started, we had a grant through OCJP or whatever it is how it got started. They got a grant to begin with. Of course, anybody knows anything about federal grants, they cut it every year, and it's down to about nothing. So we rely on the nonprofit and what money we can raise. When we first started, we didn't charge for the training. It was scholarship to everybody. And then once the grant started getting cut and getting cut and getting cut, we didn't have any choice but to start charging. But you still can't go to a training and get room, board, meals, and training material for what we charge anywhere in the United States.
So what you're saying is Dolly for president. If anybody knows Dolly and she wants to donate some money to help out first responders,
Yeah,
try to get her in touch with us. And
I know.
Randy.
Yeah, I mean,
He said, yeah. But I mean, really, if you just throwing it out there, if you listen to this podcast and you need a tax write off and you really want to do something good, and Randy, you just said it, we're saving lives, and I say we. It's the network that's saving lives. I mean, when people's coming up and saying I was really contemplating suicide until you told my story or your story, and I resonated with you. Do you care if I call or hey, can we go do lunch or can we do something like that? And that was the thing that kept them from committing suicide. That blows my mind. So, I mean, if you really want to donate to something good, the Tennessee Public Safety Network, I promise you, we'll take the donation.
yes,
And it's
put it to good use.
So many people from Memphis to Mountain City, right?
Yep. Yeah.
And we Kentucky,
here's the
Mississippi,
thing.
and yeah,
we have people, and I've never understood this, but the rural counties are more supportive than the big municipalities. And a lot of times it's kind of hard for me to understand because we go wherever we're asked. We don't care. If you've never given us a donation, that's okay, fine. We don't care. We're there to help your people. But
we don't stop and ask the question, hey,
No.
you paid your dues.
yeah.
Yeah,
Hey, did you give this last year? No, that's not going to happen.
Yeah, no. I mean, and that's the thing about it. Here, and look at it. Look at it. This is what I try to impress upon departments and department heads when we're talking about it. How much do you spend on maintenance on your cars? How much does it cost you if you blow the engine out of a car? What's it worth to you to perform a little maintenance on your people? To make sure they're healthy, to make sure they're mentally healthy.
Right. You're exactly right.
Something fell off on my foot. I don't know what it was.
Might have been that piece that you was looking for a while ago.
I'm in my
Yeah.
my daughter-in-law's computer table. I just knocked something off. I'll have to find it before I get up. But it that's the thing about it. It is, and I said this. Used to people had a different opinion of law enforcement, excluding EMS and fire for a minute. Now we're a necessary evil, and most of the time people don't want to see you unless they need your help. So it's kind of hard pressed to get people that feel like they want to make a donation to law enforcement. But it's this program is making your law enforcement officers better. It's making them safer. It's keeping them alive. And to be honest with you, it keeps them from making bad decisions. One of the things that struck me when I went through this training was the statistics involved with divorce rate being 3 times the national average for law enforcement. Suicide rate, for every one officer that's killed in the line of duty, the statistics nationwide are 3 more kill themselves.
And first responder suicide has surpassed military suicide
Yes.
for the last 3 years.
Yes. And then you got heart disease, hypertension, stomach disorders. Do you realize that among emergency services personnel, the rate of stomach cancer is 300 times higher than the national average?
Oh yeah.
And it's because we eat all of that stress, we keep it to ourselves, and we don't know how to get rid of it or deal with it, and it eats you up from the inside.
And Randy, we've talked about this a lot, and you know my passion here when we do debriefings about splitting people up.
Yeah.
You know how that goes. It. I think the network has seen how much EMS fire goes through these traumatic events that law enforcement sometimes don't go through.
Yeah.
You
I
know,
mean,
so
we
if
answer
they're
a
not
lot of
showing
stuff.
up and EMS and stuff is there. I mean, we actually, I mean, you did a debriefing tonight with EMS and stuff,
Yeah.
and those people are, if you ask me, that those people are my heroes. But yeah, the other ones
Their
talk about dispatch.
exposure,
Yeah, and dispatch.
yeah,
You
their
know,
exposure to the gory stuff is worse than ours because we can see it and step outside and wait for EMS to come and clean it up. Dispatchers, yeah, I think every police officer, fireman should have to spend a month on a dispatch console.
amen. My
I mean,
Mama Kay, my mama, she done 20 years in it, and some of the stuff that she told me, I felt just horrible
yeah,
for not checking on her more. You know, so
I got lucky. I broke my hand on the street, and they put me in communications till I was able to go back on the street. And because I couldn't write or type, well, you wrote everything back then. Because I couldn't write, it was my right hand. They put me on the radio. They said, "Well, you're listening. You're on the radio all day working, so you should be able to do this." So they had somebody sitting there with me. First of all, you can't hardly hear nothing in those little headsets we had back then. And then that's when I realized how crappy we are to our dispatchers and what their job is. They don't. We're out there and we see what we're dealing with. All they know is what the caller tells them or what we tell them over the radio, and the rest of it's their imagination. And
right,
trust me, their imagination is usually worse than what's actually happening.
it will run rampant. I
And
promise.
it will drive them crazy. I mean, and we're, I've apologized every time we have dispatchers in the room. I apologize for all of us because we usually are short with them. Hey, that's their job is to take
Call a
care of
spade,
us.
spade. We're assholes. You know they
Yeah, yeah.
are.
And I mean, and their job is to take care of us.
That's right. You're exactly right. I mean, if you're listening, don't leave your dispatchers out. Go see them. Bring them candy. Bring them something. I
Yeah.
think they like energy drinks now with them Lonnies or whatever they are now. Them dirty Lonnies or whatever. But I hear all kind of stuff.
I don't drink that stuff.
Yeah.
Hey,
Every now and then I'll get one, and I'll go at it. So, well,
I
Randy,
just
we've been
don't.
going at it for a while, buddy. Is there any final thoughts for the first responders, or just anything that you want to put out there that we've not talked about? And
I'm,
this is Randy's time.
yeah, I'm gonna tell you for anybody listening, no matter what you do, whether it's law enforcement, EMS, fire, dispatch, I can say firsthand in my career, I've had some of the best training in the world. I've been to numerous SWAT schools. I spent some time in Northern Ireland with the RUC. That was actually on a pleasurable trip, but naturally, you go over there with a bunch of other cops. They teach you a bunch of stuff, and we went and shot their guns and went and rode around with the Her Majesty Special Services Unit and went in some IRA strongholds. They loved Americans, so they used us as a way to get in. and but I mean, I, I've I've trained with some of the best in the world. I've learned all kinds of things about narcotics enforcement, supervision, tactics, shooting, long range shooting, whatever. Nobody ever taught me how to deal with doing this job, the baggage that comes with doing this job. And until we started training fire and EMS, I had worked with them. Back in my day, we all kind of knew each other. I'd go by the fire hall, the ambulance ran out of the fire hall, but I didn't do the same job they did. Uh, if it's a horrific wreck, somebody's trapped in it, fire and EMS are the ones working getting them out. I'm directing traffic or working a wreck scene. If it's a fire and there's bodies in there, the fire department's the one going in there getting the bodies out of the fire. EMS is the one that's dealing with all of the bodies, broken bodies, people hurting, seeing, god awful things, just like we are when we show up. But nobody ever taught us how to deal with how that made you feel or how that made you think. This program, to me, the reason it's saving lives is because there's only so much of that stuff you can take until you get some help. Learn how to get rid of it, not be a statistic. And for me, that's what this program has done. It's helped me. I've seen it help so many others, and I know that it works. And if you're out there and you're struggling, if you're having suicidal thoughts, there's people out there that you can talk to. You can pull up our website, TennesseePublicSafetyNetwork.com. My phone number's on there. The coordinator's phone numbers are on there. Peter, Rosie, reach out. I will tell you this. Text me or at least leave a voicemail. If you call me and just hang up, I'm going to block your number because I figure you're a telemarketer. But at least leave a message. But we're here. We're here to help other emergency services personnel because we never had it before until this program. Until 1998, we didn't know it was okay to hurt.
That's when we started in emergency.
That's
services.
right. That's
Me
exactly
and Jeremy both started in 1998 into the emergency services.
Yeah, gee, thanks. I know I'm old.
I didn't mean it that way, Randy. You know I love you,
But I mean, that's it. You ask anybody, when did you go to the class that helps you understand how to deal with stuff that bothers you? And they're like, what? They never teach that. They teach us how to do everything. They teach you how to react to things. They teach you how to do your job, how to do reports, how to answer this call or that call.
I think it's pretty safe to say, Randy, that all the training you go through teaches you how to hopefully keep somebody else from hurting you, but you never get the training on how to keep you from hurting you.
Absolutely. That's a good way of putting it. I like that.
Yeah.
I may use that.
I'll let you.
Okay. But you're exactly
Hey,
right.
we use your stuff all the time, Randy.
Do what?
I said, we use your stuff all the time, buddy.
Hey, I ain't got a patent on it. Go for it.
Hey, as long as it's helping somebody, man, that's why we're here. That's why we ask you on. Maybe we can get old Krusty Peter on here one day when he can figure
You're
out.
definitely going to need a translator.
Yeah, and
You know anybody else from Boston?
Yeah, no.
I went there one time and they needed a translator to understand me. I promise you. They didn't know what a mater was up there on a hamburger.
Or a tater.
Yeah, none of that. I promise
I do that to my grandson. He goes, that ain't how you say it.
you say it.
I'm gonna tell you guys, in all honesty, and I've said this ever since I got involved in it. I mean, this is for us. This is something that's specifically for emergency services personnel, for our mental health, for our sanity, to help us understand some of the things we don't understand, and to know that there's people out there that if you just need to talk to somebody, there's somebody out there you can talk to.
That's right, and you'll find if you decide to go to the class, which is on the app, you can go on there, find our training. I got the dates and stuff here, but you can go on the Tennessee Public Safety Network. You're gonna find somebody. It might not be the same situations, but it's gonna be similar. That you're gonna go into debriefings and be taught how to do debriefings and stuff, and you're gonna know that you're not alone, that you've been through some of the stuff that these people have been through. And it's across the state that people are coming there. You will find some dang good friends
Yes.
and people to talk to in that class.
I mean, this program is pretty much Tennessee wide, but it's not. The reason it's Tennessee wide is because we have a state law that covers confidentiality,
That's right.
protected speech, and we bring people in from Mississippi, Georgia, Alabama, Kentucky. You know, I had a guy from Florida call me, but you have to come into Tennessee to be covered under the Tennessee state law
Right.
for confidentiality. That's what makes this program to me work as well as it does. Because I was skeptical in the beginning. I didn't trust very many people. I mean, there's probably 5 people that I worked with for 30 years that I explicitly trust with everything. You know, there's different levels with some of the others, but on those 5 people, I trust them with anything. I trust them with my life.
He been 7.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm talking
Keep
about
going, Randy. Sorry about that.
I understand. I mean, I've met a lot more since then, but
I
back in that day,
got you. Okay.
it just it lets you know that there's other people out there that have had similar experiences.
Yeah, you
That
talked
you can,
earlier about what's wrong with me.
yeah,
Those feelings of, hey, this ain't right or whatever. It is like it's normal.
yeah, yeah.
Like what you really, what I have found is hey, there's other people that have the same thoughts and feelings and are struggling with things just like I am.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing. Realizing you're not alone,
That's right.
that you're not the only one, you're not unique.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of difference. I mean, I had somebody say something the other day that sometimes he just really didn't like his grandkids because they're kids and they've come along later in life and they're noisy and needy and
A little rambunctious.
yeah, and we've done a job of telling people what to do and when to do it and how to do it and making them if they didn't listen, and all of a sudden you're regressing back to trying to not get upset when they don't listen or something. It's hard. It is harder when you retire. You talking about road rage? I guarantee you, 90% of the people with road rage are ex emergency services.
I can probably match it with you, buddy. I ain't
Yeah.
gonna lie.
Yeah, but you still do something about it. I can't.
We just gotta start educating people on what that left hand lane's really for.
Yeah, or what a red light means.
And what a signal light is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I really appreciate you taking the time. I know it's late where you're at, but I really appreciate you taking the time to share your story with us and your feelings with us. And again, I'll go back to what I said to start off. I can't thank you enough for the change you've made in my life and helping me.
Brother, I appreciate it. And I thank y'all for getting on board and being a part of it.
Buddy, I never, and I wanted to say this, I never thought when I started this program that, and I'll brag on myself because I helped my buddy. I talked him into going with me, and we're doing this now to try to help people. But the reason for that was because of the network. And then we're teaching at the classes now.
Yeah.
And that excites me. And I love it when people come up and say, man, I can tell that y'all two are very genuine and good people and wanting good for people. So the network done that. They turned something from bad to good. And we're going to keep this fight going. We're talk, and get help. There's nothing wrong with it. Let's break the stigma and come to one of our classes. If there's debriefings out there, go to them. Go to them. You may help somebody just as much as you do yourself.
Hey, we got a conference coming up in September. Come to the conference, find out a little bit about what it's about.
Yep.
You know, I don't know. I mean, I'm glad this came along when it did for me. Cause had it not, you know, who knows?
That's right.
You just really don't know.
Well, Randy, it's 10:30 over at your place. We're gonna let you get some shut eye before you got to get up at 6:30 in the morning. So
that's all right. I ain't got. It's supposed to rain tonight, so I'm gonna take him to school in the morning. Come home, take a nap.
You may need some beauty rest, buddy.
Well,
it ain't working, Buzz. I'm telling you, I've tried. It just ain't working.
We really don't tell people when we don't mean it, but I love you, buddy, and I really appreciate you, brother, and thank you for being a friend.
Yeah. Brother, I appreciate it. Same here. I love y'all, and I'm gonna tell you something. When we started this with Fire and EMS and bringing y'all up there, it's I mean, that's the whole thing. Having people talking from the same side of the fence and people listening and understanding and being willing to tell people what the program's done for you, that puts it in perspective for people.
That's right.
And I want to thank y'all for what you've done. I sat back there and listened to your class. I don't know if y'all saw me grinning, but I thought it was really nice. Y'all did a great job.
We'll keep building off of it. I promise you that. And we hope this podcast helps people. And hey, if you need something, and I will say this, if you want to hear something on this podcast, or email us behindthecall0126@gmail.com. Let us know if you need any kind of help through the Tennessee Public Safety Network. Look up the app or the website, and somebody's always willing to help. So
absolutely.
Randy,
if I do anything for you, let me know.
You do the same, big dog.
Yeah, we'll be seeing you. We'll be in touch with you.
Y'all take care.
All right. Have a great night.
You have a good night, buddy.
Thank you, Randy.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for everything